Hello! Isang napakagandang gabi po sa ating lahat. Ngayon po ay nasa unang episode po tayo ng ating free weekly webinar series. I'm your host for tonight, Jeff Ramos. Ngayon po, bago po tayo magsimula ay may ilan akong announcement po para sa ating lahat. We will post the link of registration for attendance after the webinar sa description box below sa YouTube video. So please sign in to confirm your attendance because we'll be closing the link an hour after the webinar. And we will post on live stream the password to access your certificates. So please take note of the password, don't forget it. And last, your certificates will be available this Tuesday, July 14th. So that's it, and we are going to start our webinar. But first, let's start with a prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Lord, please bless everyone in this webinar. Bless our speaker, and we thank you for having him tonight. Please bless the staff who are responsible for operating this, and of course, everyone else. Thank you very much, Lord, for another wonderful learning opportunity for all of us. And we look forward to more, and we thank you for this, and for the others in advance. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Tonight, our first speaker is Mr. Ferdinand Rellerosa, or Sir E. King to his students. He's an assistant professor and concurrent acting assistant campus director for Southern Luzon State University, Chaong Campus. And he teaches English and professional education courses. He earned his bachelor's degree in secondary education, major in English, cum laude, at from Manuel S. Enverga University Foundation, and he earned his Master of Arts in Teaching, major in English language degree at De La Salle University, Manila. He has presented research papers in conferences here and abroad, and he has published research papers in international peer-reviewed journals, as well as presented at various symposia. Ladies and gentlemen, to give us a wonderful learning session for tonight, let us please all welcome Mr. Ferdinand L. Rosa.
Hello, good evening, Jet.
Good evening.
Good evening
Good
to
evening,
all
my
our
friend. Kamusta ka na?
listeners.
Oh, I'm so happy to see you and be with you. Oh,
Yeah,
I told you, perfect opportunity. Kumusta ka
yeah,
na?
I'm doing great.
Oh, that's good. Oo nga napapansin ko, minsan nakita ko yung webinar, sabi ko, exclusive to ha. Anyway, eto opportunity mo to para ma-share mo sa lahat ng mga teacher na nag-aabang.
Yeah,
Yes. So are
actually,
you ready?
yeah.
Sige. Ayun.
Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, Sir Iking Rosa para sa kanyang topic tungkol sa learning and the new normal using the FLEX framework. Palakpakan
Thank
po natin
you.
siya. Yeah.
As if I'll be hearing a lot of claps. And good evening to everyone. Thank you for your time in participating in this webinar, and I'm very excited to share with you what have transpired in the weeks of isolation, paranoia, and wishful and wild imagination that I have to go through since the lockdown was imposed. There are a lot of so many questions that lingered in my head on how are we going to deliver education to our students, and perhaps many of the teachers that are now watching us tonight have been quite perplexed on how are they going to go about this new normal. And the word flexible learning has been ubiquitous, just like the word COVID-19 has been ubiquitous in many news article that we've been reading and watching on the news. And flexible learning is the new buzzword in both higher education institutions and basic education. However, let me just give you some disclaimer before I proceed with my presentation that the presentation that I'm going to present tonight is actually a product of um yeah, like what I've said earlier, a product of our paranoia of how are we going to go about this flexible learning, because it's very new to many of us. I mean, to many of us generally, but to some this is just uh a mere continuation of what they have started in many private universities. But for us in the higher education institution, where internet connection is quite scarce, this is new to us, no? Because we will be transferring to online and offline learning that is no longer in the classroom. So this presentation that I will be going to share with you is product of the consultation that I did with my colleagues, and most of the parts here are informed by our survey that we conducted with our students. Okay, so the title of the presentation, and by the way, some of our watchers or teachers that are watching right now might find this very centered on higher education because that's where I am currently affiliated at. Some of this might not be applicable in the basic education because you already have your LCP, the learning continuity plan. But still, I do understand that although there is LCP in the basic education in DepEd, some private schools are going about this on their own. So to our teachers who are in the private school and to our school leaders who want to make their LCP more contextualized, they probably might learn from this presentation. Okay, so the title of the presentation is Let's Flex It. So the spelling is correct. Probably some of you might be wondering why it's FLECS and it's on in bold letters. So I will be explaining to you. I'll be sharing with you what is the meaning of flex. So it is our own making, the product of our consultation and conversation with my colleagues in Southern Luzon State University. So kudos to my colleagues who have been very helpful in contributing their insights with this presentation. So contextualizing flexible learning in the new normal. Next slide, please. So the proposal outline, so para talagang teacher na. So the reason why the presentation is like this because this is actually the presentation that I have prepared, and I would like to put emphasis that this proposal has not been approved or has not been practiced yet. This is just a proposal that we have made just in case our mother university, our main campus, provide us with the general plan of the university. So it's good to be ready because it's not. I think as member of the faculty and of the higher education institution, I think we are doing a great disservice to our institution if we're just waiting for the rain to happen. So might as well plan for the possible changes that might happen in the university, and uh, we will just adjust to the policy that will be implemented by CHED in our mother university. So this is actually the first time that I'm sharing this presentation with you. No, so I haven't presented it yet to anybody except for this venue. So the proposal will go like this. So I will be discussing the rationale. Why is there a need for a contextualized flexible learning framework for a university or for a campus or for a school? Second, I will be giving you the objectives of this proposal, and I'll be discussing the core principles of the framework. And then I will be discussing the class framework which I made specifically for this proposal, which will discuss what are the things that we have to consider in visiting in this new in the flexible rate learning framework that we might apply in our university or we might adopt, and the proposal algorithm for the contextualized campus learning continuity framework, and then the implications of this CCLCF and the conclusion. So the rationale, next slide please. Yeah. So higher education is one of the badly hit sectors of our society by COVID-19 pandemic. It has undeniably wreaked havoc in every corner of higher education landscape in the Philippines and has sent shockwaves to leaders of both public and private higher education institutions. The unprecedented turn of events and the immense educational disruption it brought prompted many of them to rethink, reimagine, recalibrate, revisit, reassess, and review their policies, programs, and practices insofar as the delivery of quality education to their students is concerned. The Commission on Higher Education has been consistent with with their position since day one that until such a vaccine for COVID 19 has been approved or the community quarantines have been lifted in many areas, HEIs cannot revert back to its old practice and will have no choice but to embrace the flexible learning framework or FL, henceforth FL, as their new normal setup. Allow me to expound further. So the COVID-19 has undeniably made the lives of many higher education institution and the basic education sector as well very difficult because the Philippines, being a developing country, has been used to the classroom setup. I mean, rarely and very few of our many universities are actually engaging in online learning and other forms of learning such as blended learning, distance learning, hybrid learning, or whatsoever. So many of us are built, our practice is for classroom setting, for classroom teaching. So this pandemic has deniably erased not typically erased, but it required us to re-examine and reassess our our current practices and programs because obviously our current practices and programs might no longer be effective in the new normal because there are many changes that will happen in all corners of education. So, but what is flexible learning? How do we go about it? Are we prepared to embrace it? What preparation should we make? Can our institution implement it? How? So these are just a few questions that are lingering in my head when we had a lockdown. Remember when the lockdown was imposed sometime in second week of March and then April. There are already conversations that this pandemic might not be ending anytime soon. In fact, some epidemiologists predict that until a new vaccine is discovered or invented, we have no choice but to dance, according to Secretary Roque, with the virus until next year. So I was thinking, paano na kami? How are we going to deliver quality education now that we are no longer allowed? Remember that higher education institution is categorized under category 4 of the IATF categorizations of institutions. Category 4 is where schools are listed. These are institutions that have um, high capacity, high probability of, spreading the virus because of the congregation of many people in the institution. So that has been the problem. So these are the questions that we have been asking ourselves, my colleagues and I, paano natin to gagawin? So next. So there are so many definitions of flexible learning. Name it, whatever author that you are reading, whatever literature you are reading. There are so many definitions of flexible learning, and these two are the two flexible learning that I got from the draft memo of CHED regarding the flexible learning uh, delivery in higher education. So, flexible learning is the design and delivery of programs, courses, and learning interventions that address learners' unique needs, emphasis on the unique needs in terms of place, pace, process, and products of learning. Excuse me. It involves the use of digital and non-digital technology and covers both face-to-face in-person learning and out-of-classroom learning modes of delivery or a combination of modes of delivery. It ensures the continuity of inclusive and accessible education when the use of traditional modes of teaching is not feasible, as in the occurrence of national emergencies. That is according to CHED. However, according to CIMEO, they define flexible learning as a pedagogical approach allowing flexibility of time, place, and audience, including but not solely focused on the use of technology. Although it commonly uses the delivery methods of distance education and facilities of educational technology, this may vary depending on the levels of technology, availability of devices, internet connectivity, level of digital literacy, and approaches. These are the what I would say general definition of flexible learning. But in this presentation, I would like to argue that flexible learning should be specifically and contextually defined by the institution using it. It's not enough that we um, go about this definition, but it must be contextualized in a manner that the definition of flexible learning should include the realities in our own individual institutions. Because if you look at it, the Department of Education has been quick in developing the what we call learning continuity plan. However, in CHED, if you look at the CHED, we haven't have a overarching framework that is advised by CHED to be followed by many HEIs, because DepEd and CHED are two different institutions. We function very differently. I mean, CHED is not as centralized as DepEd, and it's good to know that CHED, according to the many pronouncements of our CHED chair, Dr. Popoy De Vera, that there are individual realities present in these 112 state universities and thousands of private universities. And making an LCP just like that of the DepEd would not be as realistic as possible because of the many differences of HEIs. Remember that HEIs have different offerings. Unlike in DepEd, it's just the same. No, it's basically same as that of I mean, the curriculum is the same. What this region follows is the same as the framework that each many other region follow. So kami sa CHED medyo iba kasi bawat institusyon ng higher education, higher learning ay may kanya-kanyang pamamaraan. No, meron kaming tinatawag na academic freedom in which yun yung ginagamit namin in the delivery of education in our institution. So meron kaming certain leeway na ine-exercise. And tama naman ang CHED when they said that medyo hindi posible na magkaroon tayo ng general framework para sa lahat kasi wala diyang sinatawag na one size fits all solution. What we need is to get the realities on the ground, which is very bottom-up approach to policy making, and that those realities on the ground from the bottom will be applied in the crafting of policy so that everybody will be part of the policy and nobody's left behind, because chances are if there will be a general framework, maaaring may ma-miss ang policy makers na hindi realistic dun sa mga iba't ibang campuses, iba't ibang universities, no, sa iba't ibang lugar sa Pilipinas. And remember that magkakaiba tayo ng sitwasyon, magkakaiba tayo ng quarantine na naka-impose sa bawat bayan. For example, kami ngayon sa Quezon, nasa modified general quarantine kami. In fact, under MGCQ, certain face-to-face activity in the class in many HEIs are allowed. So sa Metro Manila, sa Cebu, ECQ, tas GCQ. So, iba din yung may i-implement nila. So, we'll never know because the COVID situation is very what do you call this, very volatile. We never know whether in the next few months we will be reverting back to ECQ, wag naman sana, or we will be under a very strict or more loose quarantine structure. So that's it. Next slide, please. So another, well, a simple Google search can bring you to thousands of definitions saying virtually the same thing. Flexible learning should not just remain a buzzword. Ito yung nagiging problema. What we have observed is that many HEIs are actually playing it by the ear. They are just saying, oh, ano ang gagawin niyo sa new normal? Sabi, oh, we're just going to do flexible learning. So what is flexible learning? No? So as if when we say, oh, we're going to do flexible learning, as if we know how to operationalize it. But instead, it should be contextually defined and qualified on how a specific institution would implement it, contemplating and integrating their own realities and circumstances on the ground. So, again, I am an advocate of more of a bottom-up approach to policy making, because there is always this problem where policy doesn't meet practice, or theory does not meet practice, because sometimes our policies are not reflective of the circumstances on the ground. Hence, the people on the ground will always have this kind of resistance towards the policy that, oh, hindi naman to pwede sa amin, hindi to applicable sa amin. So there is a certain resistance, and there is no certain type of ownership. Remember that if there are policies that must be implemented on the ground, there must be a certain level of ownership on the part of the implementers, which are the teachers, so that uh, they will implement it with open heart and open mind. Naalala ko yung shinare sa amin ng isang educational expert from Canada. I remember attending one seminar in Ateneo. He said that, I'm rephrasing this, that educational systems of the world have a bad tradition of cascading down to teachers policies without them. They have always had without them being consulted first. So teachers are always informed but never consulted. So I think in order for us to succeed in this new era, in this what we call new normal, there is a need for us to look at the peripheries, the smaller ones, or the ones that are not heard, especially the teachers, on what are their opinions, what are their suggestions, how what are their plans in going about this new normal. So it's very important that we listen to the implementers of the policy, because they will have a certain ownership of the policy. Okay, next. So having this as a premise, pasensya na medyo marami kasi talaga this is just the entire proposal that I made. Flexible learning must be clearly defined by an institution utilizing it, not just for the benefit of its students and their parents, but more importantly for the school itself to have a clear a, a to have a clear strategic direction and reference point to where they want to start and to where they want to go. So again, this is a new setup in many schools, both public, private, higher education, and basic education. So that's why the DepEd was very quick in making an LCP, because that would be the framework, the blueprint. That is a statement of policy, the clear strategic direction of DepEd on how are they going to go about the new normal. So ganun din sa higher education. Unfortunately sa amin, we have, HEIs kasi are oftentimes considered as the fountain of knowledge. No, they are considered the fountain of knowledge and fountain of innovation. So kailangan ang mga HEIs ay maging creative in making their own flexible learning framework, because they are the ones who know their students much. I mean, they are the ones who know what they have, what they can do, what they cannot do, what type of students do they have, what kind of resources do they have. So they are the ones who can make a more responsive and reliable framework that would work in their own institution. So, therefore, formulating a learning continuity framework that would expound perhaps yung medyo limitado halimbawa yung definition of flexible learning, or pwedeng ilimitahan natin kasi maaaring hindi applicable sa atin yung certain definition ng flexible learning. For example, flexible learning, as I earlier discussed, makes use of both non-technology and technology means of delivering education. Paano kung wala talagang technology na makakatulong sa iyong institution, but you're going to exploit the traditional ones like modules, learning packets, etc. So yun yung realidad na dapat nating makita. So FL's definition is not just highly opportune, but a must for individual institution to succeed in the post-pandemic era. Some might argue that formulating a new framework for FL is impractical and a total waste of time, as there are already available tried and tested frameworks that could be used by an institution. Tama naman, because if you look at if you search um, flexible learning, you will see a lot of flexible learning framework already used by different institutions from all over the world. And for me, it's good because it will inform you. It will give you a certain idea of what you will do in your institution. But more importantly, it is imperative for us to look into the possibility of making our own framework, because like what I've said, and I always um, I always would like to emphasize this, that it is important that the realities and circumstances of your institution be applied. Hindi tayo pwedeng magbulag-bulagan doon kasi halimbawa may nakita na tayong magandang framework, ay maganda 'to, ginagamit 'to ng gan'tong school, and in-apply natin. But in reality, some of the things that are included in their framework is not applicable in our situation. So how are we going to succeed in implementing the flexible learning framework in our own institution if we deny our framework with the realities on the ground? Okay? So next slide, please. So the objective basically of this objectives of this study is this. This proposal is basically an attempt to delineate an action plan that the campus might consider in its implementation of flexible learning. By and large, it aims to eliminate learning disruptions brought by the COVID-19 crisis by devising a coherent and responsive learning continuity framework specifically tailored to the unique circumstances of the campus that would serve as a blueprint for learners, teachers, administrators, and other stakeholders in its delivery of flexible learning this forthcoming academic year. Specifically, this proposal aims to identify and integrate local realities and circumstances present in the campus in the formulation of FL framework, determine the most important principles that will serve as the core for the proposed learning continuity framework, identify components of course guide syllabi that need to be revisited, present an algorithm or a flexible learning options that would determine the learning modalities that will be used by the campus or by our institution to be specific, clarify courses based on applicable learning modalities as identified in the algorithm, and present implications in the academic and administrative policies of the campus. So, Sir JC, I will be presenting this the other uh, PowerPoint. So, what I will be sharing with you next is the simple survey that we did. So, student survey on flexible learning. This is the summary of responses that we did. I think almost 80% of our students answered this, and this was answered in many forms. Some texted their answers, some called to give their answers, some answered the Google form. Okay, so you will see there how many modes of you know delivery of the survey have been used by our campus just to get the insight of our students, because our students will be the one greatly affected by this transition, because sometimes, what, I find it really annoying and if not disturbing that some of the teachers look at flexible learning as a mere change of learning modality. It is not. It is actually a paradigm shift, a total shift of a mindset that from a traditional classroom you're going to do now flexible learning. And flexible learning is not just about online. Okay, flexible learning is the combination of many learning modalities that you might use in order to deliver education. So some see this as a matter of change of delivery. Sabi nila, oh, mag-ano lang tayo, module na, but it's not. There are so many questions that need to be answered before actually you can actually transition to flexible learning. There are so many issues that need to be addressed. For example, how many hours should we allow our students to go online? Are we going to follow the same scheduling? Should teachers be required to go to school? Should the teachers be allowed to do 8 hours of teaching every day? Right? So these are the questions that we have to address before we venture immediately to the implementation of the flexible learning, because chances are, if these issues are not addressed, there are possibilities that there will be resistance along the way during the implementation, and some students or perhaps teachers might not be ready to transition. So it's very important that many issues must be laid down on the table, discussed by your colleagues, perhaps your bosses, your administrators, your principals, so that before you implement the flexible learning framework, everybody knows it. Everybody knows how to do it. Everybody contributed. So sabi nga ni Chair, lagi niya sinasabi, it's a collaborative effort between the teachers and the students. And of course, the administrators. And why do we put emphasis on the students? Well, basically, they will be the ones affected by this transition. So we must know their insights about flexible learning. So next slide, please. So here it is. So these are the course. We only have two courses in the university, but we will be offering another course next school year. Sige, next slide. So these are the summary. Can you go to the okay year level? Next, please. Next, please. So look at the gross family income. So you of our students. So you'll have an idea already of what kind of socioeconomic status our students have, or our students are currently at. So 74% belongs to the 10,000 and below gross family income. So it speaks a lot. No, this data speak a lot, no, to us, no, to what kind of flexible learning will most likely succeed. Next, please. So which mobile device do you personally own and use? So this is a combination, a computer, a laptop. When we say computer, that's the desktop one, computer, laptop, mobile phone, and tablet. And 71% said they only own one. 71% of our students only own mobile device. So again, this is very informative to what kind of flexible learning modality that we will apply in our campus. Okay, next. So which of the following internet connection is available at your home? So broadband, home fiber, mobile data. So again, a great majority, 82% of our students are connected to the internet via mobile data. Again, this data speak a lot to the kind of flexible learning modality that we will use in the campus. And I hope when you do your own flexible learning modality in your own university or campus or your school, you must, of course, take consider of these things so that you will be informed of what kind of flexible learning modality you will use in the upcoming opening of classes. Next slide, please. If you're going to rate the connection of your internet at home, how would you describe it? 46% said it's poor. Only 30% said it's good. 3% said none at all. And only 16% said only 4% said it's very good. Imagine only 4% of our 200 plus students have very good connection in the internet. So again, this speak a lot. These data speak a lot to the kind of flexible learning that we're going to apply. Next slide, please. So, if the university adopts a new teaching mechanism this upcoming academic year, which of the following would you prefer? Full traditional face to face, full online learning, or blended learning? Of course, in the survey, blended learning is defined so that they would know what these three would mean. So still many of our students want to do a full traditional face-to-face learning. Probably this might change because of the current status, no? Pataas kasi ng pataas ang COVID-19 sa atin. Luckily, in Quezon Province, we have very few cases na ma-manage pa naman. Excuse me. However, this survey might change, no, our students view might change of because this survey was conducted like early May. I think it was early May when this survey was conducted. We might probably conduct another one so that we would know what is the current status of their choices. Next, do you want the same old type of class schedule 4 times a week, 6 to 8 hours a day to be implemented next academic year? 60% said yes. Excuse me. And there are 35% who are undecided and 5% said no. So you can see that students really still want to do the old, the old school. Sabi ko nga, we were really surprised to see these answers because our students are, these are very techy generation. So they want to probably do online learning, but most of them want to do school the traditional schooling because schooling is a social contract. It's a social activity. You interact with your teachers, you travel to your school. In fact, some students consider school as an escape, no, from the problems that they experience at home. So siguro yun ang dahilan kung bakit 60% nagsabi na mas gusto nila yon. So next slide, please. So
If the university adopts a full online class mechanism this academic year, how many hours a day are you willing to attend for all your enrolled subjects? 54 said only 4 hours. And I think this is true. I've been listening to a lot of webinars lately about flexible learning, online learning, and some experts are in consensus that maximum of 3 hours dapat ang online synchronous na type of learning na dapat I mean oras na dapat nakatutok ang bata sa computer. So paano ngayon 'yan? So kung halimbawa man mag full online kami at mag-synchronous kami, is it uh, acceptable for us to have a 6-hour classes a day of online learning? 'Di ba? These are the questions no, that we have to ask ourselves. Okay, next slide please. If the university adopts a blended learning mechanism this upcoming academic year, which of the following arrangements are the most amenable you are most amenable with? Sabi nila, thrice a week and the rest is online or offline. Yun ang sinabi nila. So, willing sila na pumasok thrice a week. No, a majority of them said thrice a week. But of course, this is not feasible because we are being encouraged to limit our contact hours with the students on a face-to-face level. Okay? So, can we go back to the other PowerPoint? So, ito po yung pinisan ko lang po sa inyo yung parte nung survey na ginawa. Mahaba pa po yan. Meron po kaming tinanong na iba pa sa kanila. But these are the things that influence the type of mechanism or the type of flexible learning modalities we're going to use in the campus. So, what I will be sharing to you now is the um, proposed paradigm. Sige JC, next tayo. So, kaya siya flex because it stands for Flexible Learning Engagement and Continuity Strategy. So, I would like to name it strategy instead of a framework because strategy is flexible eh. Pag framework kasi medyo 'di ba? Parang standard na siya. But gusto ko strategy kasi it can be modified if say for example during in the middle of the semester you can modify it, perhaps the framework or the strategy did not see these things coming, so you may want to rectify your strategy, so that's why it's called flex. So ano na rin siya, tawag dito, reference na rin so yung flex na may X, no? So, kung papayagan kami at ma-approve ito as our strategy, we will be calling it SLS Chaong Flex. So, it is our strategy na gagamitin para makapag-deliver ng kalidad na edukasyon sa mga bata. Although many still would argue that magkakaroon tayo ng mga problema sa delivery, hindi natin ma-achieve ang tamang objectives, pero sa tingin ko naman kung gagawa natin to ng pagtutuunan natin ito ng pansin, ang ating mga resources at ng mga faculty, I think we can still deliver. That's why to those students who are watching, because I know my students are watching because they have been asking me how are we going to go about the flexible learning, ang masasabi ko lang kasi sa mga estudyante namin is, perhaps sa mga estudyante rin ng mga guro, na malaki ang gagampalan nila dito kasi technically what we are promoting now is self-paced learning, independent learning. Remember that the teachers will no longer be there para sabihan kayo. Although we will be opening our lines, plano namin yun na we can be reached through our personal numbers or Facebook account, Messenger. We will be exploiting all of these resources just for learning to take place. So, still, iba pa rin, di ba, yung nandun yung teacher, nakikita mo. So, this will be really challenging and quite a bit exciting. Although this is quite disquieting, but I'm excited on how are we going to do that. So, yung mga bata, kailangan nilang i-condition ng sarili nila. Kaya, sinasabi ko na to ng maaga na i-condition nyo ang sarili nyo na talagang kailangan nyo mag-aral ng malaking gagampanan ng independent learning dito kasi you're on your own. Although you still can do collaborative learning with your classmate, you can do Zoom, you can text each other, you can talk to each other. It depends. Okay, next. So, flex po ang tawag. So, ito po yung ginawa naming framework. Simple lang siya. No, I know this is a work in progress actually. Sabi nga natin, doing this kind of plans are like doing an art form, writing a novel. You can always edit it and you can always improve this. So, this is the flex paradigm. If you can see,
At the core is flexible learning, and at the core is the core principles that will operate on how are we going to choose, or how are we going to, operate in the flexible learning environment, and the class framework, which is composed of different areas that we must consider. So I'll be discussing them now. So next, please. So our core principles, so where should we start? So mahalaga, parang mga institusyon, lagi meron tayong tinatawag na mission, vision, goals and objectives, or core values. So ito rin yun, ito yung magiging guiding principle namin sa paggagawa ng mga material, sa paggagawa ng pag-choose ng tamang learning modality, sa paggagawa ng framework. Ito yung isinaalang-alang namin. So self-assessment, inclusivity, efficiency, efficacy, and partnership. So ano-ano itong mga to? Next slide po. So self-assessment, so pag sabing self-assessment, ito yung know yourself. Ito yung lagi kong sinasabi, we must begin by knowing who we are as an institution. Ano ang meron tayo, anong wala tayo, anong uri ng estudyante meron tayo, ano ang kaya natin gawin, anong hindi natin kayang gawin, ano pa ang dapat natin gawin, ano ang kulang natin gawin. So ano yung mga limitasyon na meron tayo? Okay? So lahat ito maglilid sa reality. Remember that I already mentioned a while ago for so many times the importance of realities and doing self-assessment, self-reflection of who you are as an institution will guide you in making your flexible learning. Kasi halimbawa, kayo institusyon na may pinapangalaga ang reputasyon. Lahat naman tayo meron. Gaya namin, we are performing quite well in the licensure examination for teachers. Kailangan namin isama yun sa realidad na hindi kami pwedeng magpapetiks-petiks dahil meron kaming tradisyon na kailangang i-uphold, meron kaming certain quality na kailangang i-maintain. Otherwise, if magtamad-tamaran kami, hindi namin ma-achieve yung dati naming performance. So, kailangan i-assess mo muna yung sarili mo. Tingnan mo muna kung ano ka. Okay? Next, inclusivity. Ito, when we say inclusivity, hindi lamang po ito naka-center sa student. So, sabi ko dito, no student left behind. So, when I say no student left behind, hindi pwedeng majority may internet, the 20%, hayain na sila, bahala na sila maghanap. Hindi. We must consider every student that we have. Although I know this is very difficult in many big universities, but for us, since we're doing our own framework, I think this is applicable because we can actually know the individual realities of our students, and hopefully we can address the needs of our students when the before the start of the academic year. So ano yung mga dapat naming malaman? Student diversity. Nandiyan na nga, kaya kami nag-survey dahil ito yung gusto naming maintindihan. Ano ba ang uri ng estudyante meron kami? So ano ba ang ano nila? Ito kaso nga lang ang kulang pa sa amin itong digital literacy. Gaano ba kataas ang digital literacy ng mga bata? Maaari nating sabihing techie sila, pero marami pa rin silang hindi alam when it comes to internet. More importantly, or more, in particular, the learning management system that we're going to use in our institution. Ano bang gagawin natin kung ano tayo sa mga module, for example. So student tech support program. So I always say this, no, na magkaroon tayo ng isang programa para sa mga estudyante na gagaya po kasi sa amin sa school, na pag-usapan namin ng mga kasamahan namin na we will be using doon sa mag-o-online, we will be using Google Classroom and Google Meet as our learning management system and communication tool. So, para may certain uniformity kaming ginagamit. So, maaring mag-conduct kami ng training sa mga bata. Hindi naman kailangan nilang pumunta sa school, but we're going to make a video presentation of how we go about the Google Classroom, kung paano, or maaaring magbigay kami ng link sa YouTube na nagtuturo sa kanila kung paano gamitin. So mahalaga na may support tayo. And I would like to emphasize the word mental health support kasi maganda siguro na bago mag-start ang mga bata ay kumbaga stress debriefing. Alam mo yun, pag tayo nag-undergo ng mga stressful situations sa buhay natin, di ba, we are being counseled by DSWD or by certain psychologists. No, so I think mahalaga ito, no, na malaman natin sino mga estudyante natin nagsasuffer ng problema, hindi sa pag-iisip kundi ng psychological, kumbaga nag-stress sa kanila, no, psychologically.
Sa mga teachers din, gano'n din. Dapat mo lang hindi puwedeng maiwanan. So, kailangan magkaroon ng retooling program ang mga teachers, magkaroon ng gadgets assistance kung dapat, kung puwede, kung kaya naman ng university. I remember, I think, DLSU, I mean, Ateneo de Davao gave, gave some, I don't know if they gave or they lend it to their students yung mga iPad. So kung kaya ng budget ng university or ng school nyo, why not? No, because not all teachers have good gadgets, no. And stress debriefing as well. I mean, teachers ay nag-undergo din ng ano ng stress, no. Even I, for example, suffered from minor anxiety during the lockdown. So I think kung magkakaroon ang inyong school ng program para magkaroon ng stress debriefing or mental health support to your teachers, maganda. Kasi when they go to teaching, perfect na yung mind nila that they are all set up for to do the flexible learning. Kailangan natin ng student and teacher welfare. No? Kailangan natin gawing sentro yan. Kaya parte yan ng core principle. Bakit sila nandun? Because teacher will be the implementers of the program, of the flexible learning modalities, and the students will be the recipient of the program. So it's just natural that they are given, attention in this framework. So next is efficiency. Ito ba ay sustainable? Mamaya for example, I heard there are universities that put radio as one of their options. It's okay, there's nothing wrong with it, but will it be efficient? I mean, bibili ka ng mga equipment for radio, etc. Will your budget be enough to buy the equipment for radio setup? So, 'di ba mag-a-apply ka pa sa NTC ng frequency, etc. So, efficient ba siya? Sustainable ba siya? So, we also have to ask the question, can our strategy flexible learning maximize the learning of our students? Is this attainable? Cost efficient ba siya? Is it practical? Are the school resources available? So, student resources din ba available? So, yun yung mga dapat nating isaalang-alang. So another is efficacy. It has to work for everyone. It doesn't need to. It should not just work for a group of people, for a majority of the students, but it has to work for everyone. Kaya nga siya flexible because the flexibility has something to do with elasticity, right? It can be bent towards any type of direction that you want. Kumbaga sa metal, malleable siya, may malleability. So, dapat ganun yung flexible learning nyo. Kaya sa flexible learning, it can adjust to different kinds of situation of your students. No, can support university goals. So dapat importante pa rin na ito ay in line sa mission vision ng university natin, no? And then, because that would be our guiding principle. So, can achieve the objective of the course. Kailangan itong ma-achieve ang mga objective na nilaan mo, no? Isinulat natin sa courses. It's very important that the flexible learning modality that we're going to use can still achieve the objectives. Although I will be discussing the objectives later on in the class framework. And can students learn better, no? Doon ba sa ating framework na doon sa modality, natututo ba mabuti ang mga estudyante natin? So tingnan natin, ano. So partnership, ito yung isa sa core principle kasi sabi nga ni Ched Chair, hindi natin kaya to ng sarili lang natin. We have even DepEd recognized this. That's why many DepEd divisions, schools are partnering with their LGUs, no, to support, for example, Makati, Pasig, Manila, and other cities are very, very supportive to the schools division in their respective cities. Why? Because they know that learning should not be disrupted. Yes, there is COVID-19, but it should not stop us from learning, right? Because if there are more and if there are other modalities that we can use just to minimize these learning disruptions, then we have to use it. And lucky are those who are living in these cities na meron ganong kalaki ang support. So, kailangan natin ng partnership. Bring the community together. Bring the community into the fold, the stakeholders. Kaya nga mahalaga na communicate natin to. For example, this plan of ours should be communicated to our stakeholders, more importantly to our students, so that they will be working towards it. Sabi ko nga, mahalaga ang partnership and communication kasi halimbawa kung sinabi na namin, in-announce agad namin na this will be the new normal, our students will work towards that, I know. Our students will work towards achieving the goal of the university. Alam nila, ganito palang gagawin sa university, so mag-adjust sila. So yung iba siguro may kakayanang makabili ng ng maayos na gadget or may kakayanang improve ang kanilang mga gadget. So, ang kanilang internet connection. So, pwede makakatulong sila. So, consultation. Kailangan natin ng consultation with our LGU students, parents, seek help from NGOs, LGU, private individuals. We can't do this alone. Communicate them our plans. So mahalaga 'yun. Kaya naman natulungan agad ng mga LGUs ang DepEd because the DepEd already announced that these are the modalities, distance learning, home-based learning, kung ano-anong type of learning modality. So lahat nag-work towards lahat ng stakeholders tumulong. Vice President Leni Robredo ay meron siyang program ng uh, tech support, no? Yung mga donation na maayos pa. So maganda. So maaaring gawin natin yan kung may kakayanan tayo makipag-partner sa mga local NGOs and LGUs na meron tayo. Next slide, please. So, oras na pala to. So, class framework. So, bilisan ko na lang. So, class framework stands for core competencies, lesson delivery, assessment strategies, and student feedback. So, ano-ano tong mga to? Ito yung mga dapat natin consider naman sa lesson or sa aming syllabus or syllabi. So, next slide, please. Yan. So, core competencies, these are the most important competencies that need to be prioritized. Very similar to DepEd's most, most efficient, ano nga ibig sabihin naman, I forgot, most, basta, learning competencies, I forgot the E. But, ito yun, yung sinasabi ko, because our syllabus must be revisited. Ito yung very critical, I think, sa amin, sa higher education, na i-revisit namin yung syllabus. Kasi, kami, ang syllabus namin is written under the before normal, no? Kasi new normal na. So ito yung normal. So before the new normal ay ang aming syllabus is designed for classroom teaching, face-to-face teaching. And a 3 unit course is designed for 54 hours, for 54 contact hours. So kailangan bang ganun din 54 contact hours din? When we say 54 contact hours, does it mean synchronous, asynchronous, or how do we count contact hours nowadays? So, kailangan i-revisit yan. But more important, yung core competencies, kailangan niyang i-revisit. Alin ba dito yung mas pinaka-importante? No? Pinaka-importanteng learning competency na dapat matutunan ng mga estudyante namin sa mga courses. At dito pumapasok yung individuality ng mga guro. Kasi hindi, unlike in DepEd, madali nilang sabihin yung ito yung mga most important sa bawat subject because they have the core curriculum. A curriculum vary from one state university or from one HEI to the next. So maaaring pareho tayo ng BEd program, but magkaiba tayo ng mode of delivery, magkaiba tayo ng certain subject. So hindi talaga siya maaaring magkaroon ng overarching framework in the delivery of education in HEIs. So kailangan nating i-revisit. We have to revisit our curriculum. Which among the competencies that we have written should be prioritized? Remember, kasi hindi na tayo magkakaroon ng face-to-face. Limitado na pala ang face-to-face natin. So lesson delivery. So ano yung most suitable learning arrangement para sa mga bata, no? Following the core principles. Dapat i-follow natin yung core principles na sinabi ko kanina. Course, classification, algorithm for lesson delivery. So dito na papasok yung tinatawag naman ng DepEd na flexible learning options. Here we name it flexible learning modalities, no? So ano yung most likely na pwedeng gawin nila? Assessment strategy, ito yung isa sa pinaka-problematic. Remember, many teachers think that flexible learning, the shift from classroom to flexible learning is an issue of learning delivery. Well, it's not. Okay? The fact that we're no longer having so many face-to-face session, magkakaroon na tayo ng different, of course, assessment strategy. No? So, grading, scoring system, measurement and evaluation techniques, which practice is best. So, nakakatuwa because sa totoo lang, itong mga issue na to is, kung nanood kayo, na-discuss na to ng maraming webinar. If you watch the University of the Philippines College of Education, napakaganda ng kanilang webinars. Talagang lahat ng issue, natuwa nga ako because when Dr. Dina Ocampo, the former Undersecretary of DepEd, the former Dean of the College of Education, discuss the framework, the flexible learning framework of the College of Education that they made is somehow similar to the principles that I have incorporated in this framework, no. And yun ang maganda. I think, to be honest, the flexible learning framework that was presented by Dr. Dina Ocampo is the most sensible, most practical, flexible learning uh, framework that I've ever seen and read. So diniscuss din nila yung mga different assessment strategies sa UPOU din. Meron silang seminar, webinar about this. And ito yung mga kailangan natin ng tanong. Still, the principles of assessment stand. Di ba? Valid ba yan? Reliable ba yan? But we should now look into, lagi tayong nagsasabi na we should shift our focus, our assessment focus from traditional to the more modern or authentic type. Ito na yung pagkakataon na nagawin natin. But still, assessment ay apektado rin ito ng uri ng subject na itinuturo mo. Hindi naman porky paper and pen hindi na pwede. Pwede pa rin naman ang paper and pen. It depends on the type of subject kasi may depende sa nature ng subject yan eh. May mga subject na more on practical like PE, may mga subject naman na dahil scientific, many terms are being memorized. So talagang the best mode of assessment still paper and pen. But we have to rethink on how are we going to deliver these assessment strategies? How are we going to grade our students? Yung pa rin ba yung 1.25, 1.5? Ganun pa rin ba ang percentage? 60% pa rin exam, 20% exam, 15% exam, 10% attendance. So, ito yung mga dapat nating itanong. Dapat nating tingnan na mabuti kasi ito yung magiging ingredients success ng flexible learning framework natin. And of course, student feedback. Mahalaga to kasi we have to listen to our students. Kasi halimbawa, ito yung napili nating framework. Along the way, may mga estudyante nagreklamo, Sir, bawasan ho natin yung ating or dagdagan ho natin yung synchronous para matutuan nyo kami. So at least, kaya nga siya flexible, in the middle of the term, in the middle of the semester, we can change. Mas gusto pala ng mga estudyante ng maraming synchronous. So let's go. Let's do it. Let's make more synchronous session. Halimbawa, nagsabi ng mga bata, Sir, I think it would be better kung wag na muna tayong mag module and let's just do more. It depends on your students. At kaya naman to flexible learning because later on na lang, I'll just explain it later. So next slide please. Yan. So, lesson delivery modes. Ito na yung sinasabi ko sa inyo. Full online, asynchronous, blended. It's a combination of face-to-face and modular and online. And of course, face-to-face yung traditional natin. So, paano namin to gagawin? Sige. Next slide, JC. Yan. So, ayan, medyo hindi makita. So, ito yung flexible learning modalities or FLM. So, nagsimula kami, ayan, very good. Thank you, JC, for Hindi naman mahalaga yung itsura ko, mahalaga lang ay yung mukha ko, mahalaga yung slide. Thank you very much. So, pansin nyo, nagsimula kami sa available devices at home. Some flexible, FLM mode algorithm did not consider this. Nag-start agad sila sa internet connection or what. So we have to start with available device at home. So there are two. Wala kang device at home. Kung meron naman, ano yung meron ka? Kung may laptop ka, desktop, tablet, or smartphone. Kung meron ka, so good, because ang tanong naman ngayon, do you have an internet connection or what kind of internet connection do you have? If you have an internet connection at maganda siya, then we can do full online learning. So we can do that to you. So it would be one of your options. But if you look at the line from full online learning, makita nyo yan, nakadikit pa rin siya dun sa face-to-face and full modular. Tinan nyo yung model na to na kapag no available device ka, wala kang device sa bahay, talagang you have no choice but face-to-face. But of course, this is subject to minimum health standards, physical distancing, reduce class size, reduce class hours, face-to-face, pero hindi yung normal na face-to-face, or full modular. Yun ang options pag no available device. Or for blended learning naman, ang option lang ni no device is yung face-to-face and modular pag pinagsama. Kaya siya nandun na sa blended learning. Okay? So pag meron ka namang laptop, desktop, tablet, or smartphone but you don't have an internet connection or your internet connection is unreliable, these are the blended learning options that you might choose. Why am I saying you might choose? I think hindi pwedeng idikta ng teacher na, tayo lahat ay face-to-face. Hindi talaga siya pwede. Face-to-face plus modular. Hayaan nating mamili yung estudyante. Although this will be particularly challenging to teachers. Kaya nakakatuwa sa aming university dahil alam ng aming university president na magiging difficult to. Binawasan niya yung maximum load ng mga teachers. From 21, ginawa na lang 18 at minake sure na baka maibaba pa at minake sure na hindi kami lalampas ng 3 preparation kasi may hirapan talaga kami. Kaya teachers, this will be challenging to us. For example, you have 30 students or 40 students, 10 are on full online, 3 are face-to-face plus modular. So, ang dami, no? Ang daming magiging maraming options. So, ito yon, face-to-face modular print, face-to-face plus modular e-print, or face-to-face plus modular both of them, no? And it can be mixed. Pwedeng mabago. Halimbawa, si student, first term or prelim, sabi niya full online learning siya kasi malakas internet niya, and he thinks that it's not effective to him. He may choose to do blended learning, yung may combination ng face to face, no? That's why pangit mang sabihin, yung may internet connection, ang mas malawak yung choices niya. No, halos lahat ng learning modalities pwede niyang i-choose. Kaya yung full online learning, nakadikit pa rin siya sa blended learning and face-to-face kasi the students can choose, no, whatever learning modality that is most appropriate or applicable to him or her. So hindi natin pwedeng diktahan ang estudyante na magganito tayo. Although pwede nating i-negotiate yan. So mga bata, para hindi mahirapan sa teacher, we can choose na lang, face-to-face, modular 1 and 2 para naman medyo may uniformity tayo. Pag sinabi naman ng mga bata na, okay ma'am, that's it's okay for us. Okay, then we could do that. But what I can imagine to my classroom is this. There will be a certain number of students who will do full online learning. There will be some students who will do blended learning, and some would do the face-to-face and full modular. So yun yung magiging reality namin sa university. And the good thing is we already picture this out, no? Pansin nyo, wala kaming TV, wala kami ditong radio because we don't think it would fall under the efficacy and efficiency um, principle that we have laid out just a while ago. So yun yung sinasabi ko kanina na hindi lahat naman ng learning modality pwede natin gawing available gaya ng radio. Pero how are we going to go about that? I don't think we have enough resources to buy the very expensive equipment for radio broadcast. And besides, we have to get license siguro sa National Telecommunications Commission or whatever. So kailangan siguro natin mag-hire ng ECE to man the booth. 'Di ba? So yun yung practicality nun, ano? At saka paano namin i-schedule ang show tuloy, ang ang lesson ng mga bata ay ng mga teacher. So pagsabay-sabay, sino lang ang gagamit ng radio, sino na. Pero pwede naman din siyang i-consider. But in our case, we don't think it's feasible. Okay, next slide please. So anong implications nito? I'm glad that I'm now at the latter part of my talk. I think so. Academic policy, so admission retention policy. There are universities that did not, make I did not made use of their entrance examination. They just evaluate the students' entrance requirements gaya ng kanilang mga grades. So, for example, yung mga universities ng may medical school hindi na ni-require na magkaroon ng entrance exam, maipasa yung entrance exam sa kanilang mga universities. Kasi nga it's very difficult nowadays, no, to 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 ask our students to go to our universities because people are congregating and there is high risk, high chance of uh, virus transmission. So grading system, pag kailangan ba, like what I've said, are we going to abide by the same policies of assessment as we did before? Can we devise new grading system that is fair to our students? Kasi ang hirap niyang i-grade kasi like what I've said, there are different modalities. Naturally, they will require different types of assessment. And is it fair that you compare their grades using different modalities? So these are the questions, right? So you have to consider that. That's why for me, you have to talk about this, especially your colleagues, your principals, your directors or your bosses to talk about this. You have to negotiate this because there must be a certain coherence on our side in going about this new grading system. So recalibrate the syllabus, no, our syllabi, student activities. So anong mga student activities? Natural, wala na tayo ngayong mga congregation. Unless of course talagang magkaroon na tayo ng vaccine, then we can revert back to the old normal. But as sabi nga nila, the future for vaccine is bleak. No, hindi natin alam kung it will be available in October, December, at kung maging available man, kailan magiging available sa Pilipinas because many large countries are already um, signing contracts with these vaccine manufacturers that the first doses that they're going to produce will be sent to them, 'di ba? Yun ang problema din natin. So, yun, ang suggestion ko is magkaroon tayo ng interim university academic policy. Bakit interim? Kasi while the COVID-19 is there, while we're doing this flexible learning, I think it's good that we have an interim academic policy. Hindi muna wag muna nating gamitin yung dati kasi yung dati sinulat yun nung walang COVID-19. Remember that this pandemic is kumbaga once in a lifetime event in our lives. The last pandemic happened in 1917, 1918, yung tinatawag na Spanish flu. So hindi natin na-contemplate na maaaring magkaroon ng ganitong phenomena. So we have to rethink, we have to revisit our academic policy, yung mga grading for example for honor students, no, yung UP 'di ba yung last sem hindi nila sinama, meron silang university policy na hindi siya included sa final rating or final grade or final computation, and it will not affect their honors. Ganon din yung nangyari sa amin sa university namin. That could be part of the interim academic policy only for this semester perhaps, or until such time that quarantines or this crisis is over. So we have to rethink of this. Administrative policy, human resources policy, yung alternative work arrangement. So ito yung dapat din isipin ng mga human resources natin, especially for example sa mga state universities, ang Civil Service Commission, no? Kasi ibang-iba naman ang pagtuturo, ang style ang working arrangement ng mga teachers kumpara sa mga civil servants sa ibang departments na they come 8 o'clock in the morning and they go out 5. Tayo kasi ngayon flexible na. Sabi ko nga, ngayon nga mas lalo pang magiging mahirap to sa teacher kasi anytime pwede kang kontakin ng estudyante mo. For example, somebody texted you in the wee hours of the morning and he says, "Sir, paano po to?" Alam mo naman ng mga estudyante natin. Minsan gising pa yan ng 2, 3 a.m. gumagawa ng project. So parang ngayon on call ka lagi, para kang doktor, no? 24/7 on call ka. But for me, there's no problem with that. Still, you can negotiate that with your students, no? You can negotiate that with your students and say, "Okay, class, I can only entertain until 9 p.m. because 9:01 I'm already asleep." Right? So you can do that. That could be part of your syllabus. Ganoon na ang magiging nating syllabus dati. Ang ating nakalagay sa syllabus ay consultation hours, nakalagay TTH, MW, 12 to 1, mga ganon. Yun, magiging natin consultation hours any time of the day except after 9 p.m. That could be a reality, right? So human resources policy should change, I think, because many will resist if we will impose the 40 hours, how are we going to, how our HR will count the number of hours that we are working, that our working hours, right? So paano ang mga DTR kung nasa work from home arrangement ka, right? So medyo madugo pa rin ito. Function of support services. Kaya nga, like what I've said, hindi lang ito change ng learning modality. Ito ay total change, a paradigm shift, a change of mindset, a total change of mindset. Function of support services, teacher evaluation. Paano nyo natin i-evaluate ang mga teacher natin? Ang efficiency natin. Natural, hindi na sila lagi nandyan. Paano na? Kailangan natin i-change ang questionnaire. Kasi may mga tanong doon na, does the teacher come to class on time? Natural, wala na ngayong on time dahil ilan limitado na lang ang synchronous na natin, ano? So, we have to rethink of this as well. So, nakita niyo yung effect ng nag-change lang tayo ng paradigm. Everything that may kinalaman sa education, magbabago yan. 'Di ba? So, standards for effective teaching. Ano na ngayon ang standards ng effective teaching? Dati, marunong ba mag-joke si sir? Maganda ba ang suot niya pagpasok sa classroom? Hindi ba siya balagi siya late? Ngayon, baka ngayon, isama na nila sa evaluation, magaling bang gumawa ng materials na online interactive materials si sir? So, maaari na yan sa standards ng good teaching, right? Focus more on teaching and learning. So, ito yung sinasabi ko na while many universities are functioning on a threefold function, research, extension, community service, I think since we are still a teaching institution, our resources, our efforts should still focus more on teaching and learning. I'm not saying you get rid of your research agenda, your extension, your other agendas. But we have to focus first here until we have, kumbaga planchado na lahat ng ating teaching and learning strategy sa susunod na. Then we can go back again to research and extension. But I think all of the efforts, strategies, and the resources must be directed here in the teaching and learning. Kasi bago ito eh. Bago siya. Realignment and prioritization of budget. Ito na ginawa namin. We're very happy that one of our budgets were realigned, and uh, I think yung aming computer lab sana will be reverted back to buy tablets and laptops for teachers and students who need it. So wala pang lino kung sino makakakuha nun, but it's a good thing that the budgets are being prioritized for COVID-19 response. Next po, sa conclusion na po tayo. Finally, na-reach ko na po yung last part. Pasensya na, I think I over na naman ako ng oras. So, universities are fountains of knowledge, innovation, and invention. Okay? Kaming mga universidad ay fountain ng innovation. Sa amin nagmumula lahat ng mga bagong thinking, bagong knowledge, bagong research. And I think if universities are lagging behind their basic education counterparts like DepEd, I think medyo hindi magandang tingnan kasi in fact, dapat kami yung nagte-take ng lead. Sabi ko nga, take the lead instead of following others' lead. Na sabi ni Chad Popoy, ito daw COVID-19 ay nag-unleash ng creativity ng mga university. That's true. No, and I'm glad that the CHED chair is recognizing this because sa totoo naman nobody knows the correct answer in in doing flexible learning. Nobody knows the correct answer, the right framework. But what we can do is collaborate, share our resources, the best practices that our universities have. You can share it with other universities. Sabi nga natin before, 'di ba, laging may cold war ang mga universities. Lahat 'yan nagpapataasan ng ihi kasi that's the way of improving themselves. Naging daan 'yun para mag-improve ang mga university kasi they have to try to outwit one another. But this time, sabi ni Chad Share, lumabas daw yung caring heart ng mga state universities and colleges and private universities in helping one another to come up with their own flexible learning strategies so that they will still deliver quality education to their students. And maganda yon. And kaya kasabi ko, universities should take the lead. Hindi tayo pwedeng makinig lang dito or anong ginagawa nila. Hindi, pwede naman tayo magsimula ng plano para sa atin, and then kung may makita tayong maganda sa ibang university, then we can adopt it. There's nothing wrong with it. Like what I've said, this framework is a work of art. It's a work in progress. It can always be uh, improved any time. So, ang mahalaga lang, maplansya na muna natin yung mga basic strategies na gagawin natin so that hindi naman tayo magugulat pagdating ng August or ng September kung kailan man tayo magsisimula ng klase. At least meron tayong certain strategy na gagawin. So, alam natin yung point of direction na pupuntahan natin. So, rewrite rules or perhaps write new ones entirely. We cannot move forward if we keep on insisting to remain glued on our current systems and protocols as they were not written and intended for this situation. Ito na yung sinasabi ko. We have to rewrite the rules. If not rewrite, we have to write new ones just to accommodate this situation. Hence, sabi ko nga kanina, an interim academic policy might be considered by your school or your university. Now, more than ever, we need writers, not readers. We need producers, not consumers. We need to be the predator, not the prey. If we do not act swiftly and creatively, we are rendering ourselves as vulnerable prey for this predatory crisis. We will be devoured whole by Saan na yun? We will devour the whole until nobody remembers that we ever existed. We need to adapt, otherwise we become extinct. We need to exhaust all our might, both our professional and academic preparation to mitigate the impact of this pandemic. We need a game plan to go about this, to ensure that learning takes place. A learning continuity framework must be established. As the new normal tiptoes nearer, we need to prepare our blueprint, not tomorrow or the next day, but today. We need to talk about this now. That's why I encourage you, if you belong to an institution who doesn't have a plan yet, or perhaps the plan is vague, you have to start the conversation. You have to, even though kahit wala tayong posisyon or tayo ay normal na guro lamang, our voice counts. Our opinion counts. And our administrators, our principals need our opinion so that we can implement this new normal better. This is not for us, for our glory or for our school glory. This is for our students who deserve the much quality education they needed and they deserve. And I think that's the end of this presentation. Next slide, please. Thank you very much for your time, and I will be entertaining questions. Jet, I'm so sorry. I think it's already 1.5 hours.
Your call. Okay lang yun. Hi. Hi, Freddie.
Hi.
Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. Well, it's okay. It's your show. It's your time. So it's it doesn't matter. So that's okay. And in fact, we enjoyed it.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Inom nga ako ng inom ng tubig para lang para lang magising. Ayun.
Oo.
Bago po natin i-accommodate ang mga questions ni Sir Ferdy sa kanyang magandang presentasyon at sigurado akong marami tayong natutunan mga practical na bagay and also the realities of flexible learning. Ito nga pala ang ating mga announcement. So, wag po nating kaliligtaan ang July 17th, next Friday, sa isa na namang seminar, sa webinar by Dr. Belen Chu of Philippine Academy of Sakya and Arellano University. She's going to talk about COVID. She's going to talk about the new normal, COVID-19. Yeah, in the context of teaching. Yeah, coping. So that's what we all need: teachers, students, parents, other stakeholders. And wag
Mhm.
nating kaliligtaan na pumirma sa attendance sa link sa baba yung nasa description box kasi pagkatapos ng webinar isasara namin yon. So please do it now if you haven't done it. And do not also forget that our seminars will be given on the 14th, the certificates. And now we open the floor to questions. Kaya mag-type po kayo ng questions ninyo at sasagutin ni Sir Ferdy ang lahat ng mga katanungan ninyo. Shoot!
I was reading the comments already.
Yo. No.
Anyway, any questions po, I'm very willing to answer.
Huwag kayo mahiya. Comments, suggestions. Oh my goodness, that's a lot. Yeah. Well,
Marami, Jet.
everybody's yeah. Nako, ang dami talaga. Ang dami pong bumabati sa inyo. Sige. Ano na, JC, i-flash natin isa-isa para makita ng lahat kung gaano kasaya sila. Sige, JC, flash mo na yung mga comment.
Oh,
Starting
that's
with,
June. That's my
God.
student. Medyo bias yung comment na yun because he's my student. But anyway, thank you, June, for
Well, that's
listening.
okay. I know you love him very much. We all
Mhm.
do.
Sir, parehas tayo ng wallpaper.
Oh, they
Thank
all
you so
love
much,
you so much.
Rosa. Those are very good insights. Thanks for sharing. Thank you, Chad. Thank you very much. I hope you learned something from the lecture. No, by the way, Jet, let me just point out that the lecture is not really for you to make use of the same framework. But what I'm trying to say here is, I'm inspiring those people who belong to the same institution, to who are in the same situation like me, to start the conversation, because we
Yeah,
cannot wait for the plans of anyone,
that's
because at
right.
the end of the day we will be the one implementing this, and then our opinion counts
That's
as
right.
teachers.
Yeah, we have to innovate. We have to be creative. We don't have to depend on debit so much and Chad. Yeah,
Yeah.
and dami mababa. Well, thank you, JC, for flashing all the comments. Oh, by the way, yung password para sa certificate, it's going to be flashed on screen, so please don't forget the password. Screenshot it,
Mm-hmm.
just share it with others.
Password, sige, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Are you
Oo.
going to give me naman a separate certificate?
Of course. Of
I'm
course
sorry.
naman. It's okay. This is for all the participants.
Mhm.
Yeah. Huwag kalimutan. Baka may magkarambola. Lalagay 0703. Diyos ko na eh.
Mhm.
Last week yun. Okay. So, isulat nyo na po ang comments or yung password or screenshot nyo. Okay. So, JC, we have other new comments. Oo. Mga katanungan. Oo. Yun. Mga instrumento lang ako. Instrumento na
Thank you,
kami
sir,
doon.
for today. It's very, very worthy to participate. Thank you po, Ma'am Vergara, Miss Rian Vergara. I think she's Mrs. na pala kasi may kasal yung
Oo
kanyang.
naman.
Mm.
Ay,
Thank you
Juvie.
po sa time niyo, Sir Rosa. Thank you din po sa pag-share nito sa amin. Very helpful po 'to. Thank you din, JFE, for this wonderful opportunity.
Ano naman?
Thank you po. Wala po bang tanong yung papawisan ako? Charing lang.
Okay lang yun.
Mm. Thank you po
Sige,
for watching. I hope you learned something from the lecture.
next pa. Okay, Juvie. After Juvie,
Naka-YouTube pala siya.
next naman. After Juvie, sa mga ano. I-flash natin mabilis, JC, para makita ni Sir Ferdy, tsaka syempre proceed ask questions. Oh, naku, ang daming papasalamat, oh. Oh. Mm.
Thank you, Miss Zini, Mr. Zini Po. How do you pronounce that? I mm,
Zini yata, Zini.
Zini. So do you have international participants as well?
Oh. Siya nga pala, si Joey, kumusta na pala yung webinar niya? Hindi ko naabutan.
Well, it was very insightful, I must say.
That's good. Oh, invite ko siya next month. Sana pwede na siya.
Ayan, sabi ni Miss Emmanuel, very well explained po kaya wala na tanong. Wow, salamat po. Salamat po.
Oh, ang daling intindihin yun eh. Oh,
Thank you,
balik-balikan
Jet.
niya. Sure,
Alam ko
wala yun.
medyo mabilis ako magsalita. Ang tagal ko na rin kasing hindi nagtuturo ulit, 'di ba?
Eh,
Bakasyon tayo ngayon.
pareho lang tayo. I
Mm.
understand you totally. Mabilis din ako magsalita. Okay lang yun. Okay lang yun. Wag naman yung, ano, mahirap magsalita, di ba? Iba na yun.
Yun nga lang.
No, yan, sige. Ayun. So, ang daming nagpapabati sa'yo, nagpapasalamat sa'yo. Oh, merong isa, si Miss Yami Antiga, excellent presentation. Thanks for educating us tonight. Ang dami iba. Thank you. Hello, sir. Biscotas, thank you so much. Ay, may isa pa awesome presentation. Big 5 stars. Ay, sige. Thank you, JC. So, ngayong gabi, ay may natutunan tayong mahalaga kay Sir Ferdy sa kanyang lecture tonight.
Thank
Ayun.
you.
At gusto naming pasalamatan din ang lahat ng mga sumubaybay ngayong gabi. Huwag niyong kakalimutan ng attendance, please, dahil mahalaga yon para makamtan ninyo ang certificate ninyo. And huli pa, wag po kayo mag-atubili na mag-attend ng mga webinar namin. Matagal-tagal to, marami ito. Kaya you're in for a treat. You're in for a surprise. So we would like to thank all our staff, si JC De La Cruz, who's behind the controls operating, doing the certificates, with the help of Abby Resurrection and Hazel Landero, our two other staffs, and Sir Jaime Espiritu, our CEO and president, and the father of JFE and JFER, and all other supporters. So, maraming salamat po muli, Sir Ferdy, for a very wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Yes, and of course, to God be the glory. Once again, I'm your moderator, Jet Ramos, and this is not the end because we'll be seeing one another on Friday, July 17th, and all the other Fridays. So please share the word, spread the word, like our Facebook page, and subscribe to our YouTube channel because all our free webinars are for you. Maraming salamat po and good night to all of you. Sweet dreams and goodbye.